Welcome to The Bone, the podcast that goes deeper. Here we cut through the noise and get straight to the core of the issues that matter. From real stories to raw truths, we dive deep into the conversations that shape our world and challenge our thinking. We're not afraid to dig in and get to the marrow of it all. Whether it's life, culture, or business in sports medicine, we're here to break it down raw and real. No filters, no fluff, just to the bone. With your host, Shelby Daly, we're getting to the bone. This is a clinically pressed, approved CEU podcast. Find the quiz to gain credit at clinicallypressed.org/courses. Clinically Pressed Company, making the complicated simple through results that give back. Find out more at clinicallypressed.org. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Bone, the podcast that talks about everything athletic training. Your host, the athletic trainer with the mostest, Shelby Daly. Me, I'm Randy Daly. I'm the guy she found in the Help Wanted section of Home Depot. So this is not a professional gig, really. No. All right, I know it's an old joke, but just helping the kid out to do some things in athletic training. Today, pretty cool. I don't know if anybody's heard about this upstart company, Redbull. Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know about them? Yeah, that's right. They do some pretty darn awesome stuff. And joining us from Redbull, Marco Milano. Did we get that right, sir? Mm-hmm. Outstanding. Marco, where are you joining us from today?
I'm from San Diego, California.
San Diego is a beautiful city. I went to summer camp there one year.
That's
right
there by
the airport. Uncle Sam's Misguided Children let me hang out with them for a summer and do all kinds of fun athletic things, but without the benefit of athletic trainers. Go figure. So, Marco, tell us a little bit about how you became involved in athletic training, if you would.
So I have both athletic training and physical therapy background. I'm originally from Italy, moved to the US in 2008. I had some previous experience in Italy. I'm a former professional basketball player. So I had some experience with just working with basketball teams, some soccer, because soccer is very popular in Italy, in Europe in general. No,
really?
So I had no choice, I guess.
Oh, hold on. What team is your favorite in football? Favorite Italian
soccer.
Football team?
Inter Milan.
Inter Milan. Very nice, very nice.
Even though I'm from Torino, which is strongly a strong Juventus hold, so it was a battle growing up.
Well, you're safe with us. So far, we are not streaming in Italy, so nobody from your hometown is going to hold it against you that you're cheering for the wrong team. All right, I apologize for the interruption. Continue, please.
No problem. So I had some experience with soccer, basketball, and then after I moved to the US in 2008, somehow I had connections that people knew me. I got involved with Nike, more specifically Nike track and field. So I had the opportunity to spend a good amount of time up in Eugene, Oregon, where a lot of running, a lot of track and field happens. I was there for the trials for the Olympics in 2012, and some other events. And then I moved and then I got involved with Redbull as they were developing this, as originally called Redbull High Performance Department, which was the vision of a good friend of mine, Andy Walsh, which was the starter of this movement within Redbull. He's a visionary, innovator, so really great person that put together a small team of people, try to develop some known stuff and some unknown stuff. So it was really cool. And I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time when he needed help on a training and physical therapy support, and I was available. So kind of worked out, and that's how everything started.
Outstanding. So you had your initial degree in was sports physical therapy from in Italy, but then when you went on to get your doctorate, you did that in Los Angeles, correct?
That's correct. They gave me some credits for the work that I've done in Italy, for the study that I've done in Italy, but I had to do most of it again. So, which it sounds very tasking, and I was not excited about it at the time. But looking back, it was a good experience. It allowed me to go back into study mode. It allowed me to compare the education that you get over there compared to here in the US. And I think overall give me the tools to kind of put the best things of both worlds together and give me a very comprehensive look at everything from training to rehab and so on. So it was definitely a valuable experience.
Well, I got to imagine that your international background has got to be a benefit when you're working with an organization like Redbull that is, I mean, universally known across the globe for the just the amazing athletic events that they put on.
Yeah, definitely helped. I've been in touch with a lot of athletes over the years. Speaking multiple languages helps. Just understanding the scenario, the background of the athletes, the mentality, the European mentality is very different from the American mentality. So it was a very good opportunity for me to use the skills that I kind of had to learn by just moving across the pond. So it definitely helped understanding the athletes and getting in their shoes and creating a better relationship with them with athletes from different places. Yeah.
Now, you're a pretty sharp guy. I mean, obviously, you've got a doctorate, you're internationally traveled, you're well-spoken. What is it about athletic training that's the favorite thing that keeps you engaged in athletic training?
I think I'm very curious. I think the system doesn't, and I don't like to generalize, but education needs to standardize as much as possible for multiple reasons, which is great. I have, unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues tend to fall into that way of thinking where you're just repeating everything over and over. It gives you a sense of security for sure. I'm lucky enough to be very curious. I'm always asking why something happens, and I think in this field, in the sports field, I think there's always something we can learn. In the environment that I had at Redbull, where I work on around 500 athletes from about 60 different disciplines, it kind of forced me to be adaptable, right? So I had to ask questions. I had to question myself. I had to question what I knew, what I didn't know. It was basically a constant learning, and that kind of fueled the passion and the devotion to this mission.
So we could definitely call you a non-traditional AT. Anybody working with 500 athletes, like maybe in a university setting, it's going to be a much narrower scope. And I mean, I remember watching the jump from space with Red Bull, and that's a slightly different training environment than collegiate football or even soccer or anything else. How do you get a grip on 500 athletes doing everything from jumping from space to skateboarding?
Including some of the weirdest sports that I work with. I can name a couple, which is lumberjack and roller derby.
Oh my goodness.
Where I actually had to ask the athletes, what do you actually do?
How do you win?
How do you win? What's the point? How do you get points? And I watched countless videos. When I say there was a constant learning, I mean I'm not joking. I think this is something that really helped building the relationship with the athlete, because you have a top athlete in a sport where I don't really know much. There's no research. There's nothing really established, and they're teaching me about the sport.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching them about what I know, and then together we try to see what we can do, right? So it's a two people team, and which became really the power of our program in the early phases, where we were just trying to understand what can we do, how can we do it, like on a daily basis. And it was a struggle, but I think it helped all of us keeping our minds very open and be very curious and be willing to learn from mistakes and make mistakes. Not many people know that jump, they had originally like a $5 million, between $5 and $6 million budget, ended up being $40 million. because what they didn't show is that a couple of times the capsule came down pretty hard and smashed into the ground.
No.
So failing is part of the process, and that's a clear example. And what they achieved, what we achieved with that jump was amazing. But there was a lot of trial and error, and a lot of unknown. And when you go into the unknown, which is something that not a lot of people are comfortable with, there's a lot of things that don't go as planned, and you learn from the mistakes and you improve the next time.
Well, the tip of the hat on that one. That was the final product, and that jump with that crazy German was just amazing. That was I used to parachute, and so it was like, really? I was much closer to the ground than this guy. Crazy. And then, like you were saying, the learning curve. When I owned my company, we actually sponsored a roller derby team, and I had no clue how they won. It was like, you get to score for what? So yeah, I totally relate with what you're saying there.
And what a lot of people don't realize when they see these crazy, crazy events and crazy stunts is a lot of preparation that goes behind it. If somebody's jumping with a motorcycle, with a dirt bike off a 10-story building, I mean, they jump from 1 story, 2-story, 3-story. So there's a lot of crashes, and there's a lot of, they try to control the environment as much as they can. So when you see the final product, it is crazy still. But it's not like they just decided one day, let me just go and try, right?
Oh, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. Yeah, those ended badly.
There's a few that do that. Usually those are the ones that don't succeed.
We're not going to advertise the one that didn't work.
Yeah, a lot of preparation, physical preparation, mental preparation, but kind of like in a new environment, right? So that was the challenge, and that was the fun part of it.
Outstanding. So now, some of their latest things we've seen is they're doing some very aggressive, I don't know if we want to call it aeronautics, but I mean, it's hard to, they've got guys jumping out of planes, past jets, over helicopters, and just this mixed media of things that are not supposed to be in the same airspace at the same time. How, again, you talked about learning, but how... This stuff, they're doing stuff that's never been done before. How do you open up the athletic training environment to be able to address that with?
So the phases of those crazy projects usually comes, a lot of the creative piece comes from the actual athletes. My good friend Leticia Buffoni, she's the best female skateboarder in the world. She loves skydiving. Let me backtrack actually, because there's a very key thing. One of the most powerful elements of our training environment was what we call cross-pollination. There was no environment like that, like the space that we share for training and therapy and testing, where you will have athletes from different disciplines. These are top athletes in their discipline, train together. So you have a best skater in the world training with a skydiver. And they're talking, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh, I jump off. Oh, that's crazy. What do you do? Oh, no, that's crazy. Right? And I was lucky enough to be around the environment. So I'm just watching this interaction. And then all of a sudden you have the skydiver is inviting the skateboarder, hey, why don't you come out? And they do, and they love it. And so a lot of the projects actually were born from athletes trying new disciplines. And some of those new passions were born in the gym, where we allowed them to be in the same space and share experiences. So we were part of it. And it was just such a powerful tool that for different reasons, they go into a new experience. They try things where they're actually scared, and maybe they're doing something that's 10 times more scary. But maybe doing a kickflip with a skateboard, they were scared of spraining their ankle. Somebody just jumped from a plane, right? And also on a training perspective, my good friend Tyler Jewell, he was the head trainer with me. It was just such a powerful tool, having them share knowledge, share the floor, share some exercises, and just witness this cross-pollination of like knowledge, of techniques, of physical skills. It was just probably the most powerful thing I ever experienced in my life. So I'm still grateful years later. It was just an environment with so much energy. and so much positivity, so much excitement, and so much passion. It was very contagious for us. So we end up working late nights, weekends, because we were part of this passion that was like, that the athletes were sharing with us.
So now when after everything is said and done and you've got this great idea and they start figuring out, okay, we're going to go land bush planes on a platform in Dubai, or was it Dubai? I think it was Dubai, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So how close do you get? I mean, do they let you sit on the sidelines and go, wow? I mean, how close do you get to the action on those?
Sometimes, and sometimes we don't want to because it's too scary. So,
you're saying you were not hanging out on the rail when they were doing flip boards from a balloon above the ground? You're not there?
No, I wasn't on the plane when Letitia did a kickflip on a military plane and jump off right after. No. I was offered to do skydiving and I politely declined. We opted to go into one of these iFly wind tunnel, which is way safer. So I think I was already 40 years old. I was like, at my age, I don't feel the need to jump off a plane. I have plenty of excitement.
Not going to prove something? I mean, come on.
No. So we had the chance. One of the things, to give another example, Rampage, which is the craziest mountain bike events in the world, where they just go in Utah and they just go downhill on rocks. I mean, you're just hitting rocks. So the chances of failure, I mean, it's just so high. And when you watch it on TV, it does give you a sense of craziness. But then when you go there in person and you're like at the top of this hill and you look down, you're like, this is just stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Not crazy. It's stupid.
So hold your beer moment.
Yeah, it's just like you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be doing this, and as almost like a dad, it's like, don't do it. But then they do it, and again, a lot of preparation, a lot of mental strength, and they do it, and it's unbelievable.
Well, and so that we had some follow-up conversations after Shelby was involved in the X Games on the West Coast, and just the trying to prep for injuries that you can't imagine are going to happen. She was telling me about they had it was one of the bicycle events, and so they're doing the tricks on the little tiny bikes and everything, and it's basically gymnastics and biking and everything else. And the guy fell, and the handlebar hit him in the midsection just below the rib cage. So it's like, when I was studying athletic training, nobody talked about being impaled on a handlebar. What? How do I handle it? The kits you guys have got to have on the sidelines. Tell us a little about the levels of response that you have the ability to do, or that you
So X Game is a good example. I have a very close group of freestyle motocrosser that I work with here close by in Temecula, and I call them my job security group. Because it's just a matter of time. I mean, it's not about if you go down, it's a when. So, you're talking about, being in the air for like 60, 70 feet, 100 feet, 120. I mean, they just push the boundaries, right? So I do my best, to prepare them. There was something that was needed, was a cultural shift. I was lucky at Redbull 15 years ago to start the cultural shift with surfing, which usually takes about a generation. And then we were lucky with skateboarding going into Olympics. That gave a big push. 20 years ago, surfers were surfing, drinking, sleeping some. Nobody was training. Now the top surfers are all amazing athletes, nutrition, sleep, mental coaching. But it took about 20 years. And then skateboarding, I was lucky enough to be part of the group that helped this cultural change, right? Skateboarders come from the street. They never train. They don't have a structure. How do we get them into trusting us? How do we be having them convince them to do some foam rolling, some stretching, some training? And then again, the Olympics helped a lot, pushing that way. So, and it happened. Now the top skateboarders are also top athletes. And then myself, a little more individually, the motocross, like freestyle motocrossers. We're not talking about racing. These are guys that wake up, look at the sky. Sky is good. weather is good. Oh, it just rained yesterday. Dirt is great. Let's go jump some hills. Or maybe they go get drunk the night before, and the next morning they're dying in bed, right? So it's not, you can't really structure too much around this guy. These are free spirits, right?
Right.
They don't like structure. They don't like to train. So again, I had the opportunity to meet Tyler Berman a long time ago, and he had a bad injury, and he was kind of had no choice. He had to see me at Redbull for 9 months. And he learned he learned the process, and he learned how to be diligent with it. And then he opened up my world to the freestyle motocross, and now I work on like 6 or 7 of them. But it takes time. It takes time. It takes trust. It takes it takes a lot of adaptation for me to be like, okay, this is what I would like to do, right? Because this is what I know will be good. They're not going to do it.
Right.
So what can we do to just get them to trust me? How, let's get something done.
Right.
And then little by little, you get closer to what ideal will be, right? But you have to respect the fact that these guys don't have a schedule. They don't like the schedule. So within that situation, I just have to be very adaptable and say, hey, you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes to warm up. I'm not offended. If you tell me 5 minutes, we'll do 5 minutes. It's better than no minutes.
Than nothing, right.
So little by little, now they're buying into it. And so it's a lot of little things that I like to sprinkle around their schedule so they don't feel overwhelmed. They don't feel like a lot of information, a lot of things to process, and a lot of things to change the schedule. I think it gave me the opportunity to kind of dive into their world, put my foot into their world without them feeling like, okay, this guy is trying to control me.
So you take it from that very, very creative, very organic, like you said, surfing and BMX and mountain bikes. And that's all very kind of very organic, cool, modern hippie kind of stuff. And then F1, multi-million dollar sports cars, and a guy who's got to be able to take, 5-6 G's of side force. And everybody thinks, oh, all you're doing is driving. You don't need to be an athlete. I mean, come on, you just drive the car. How bad? Tell us about that range of psyche from, like I said, the organic athlete that's doing cool stuff to the guy. I mean, they don't just give these cars to anybody to drive. This is a big investment by Mercedes.
Long process. Yeah, I think that also is one of the skills that we had to develop over the years, that we will have somebody like a skate or surfer showing up telling me like, hey, I'm flying through LA, I have 2 hours, and then I don't see you again for 6 months. Fix everything. And I'm like, okay, so you have to really be creative and do whatever you can in those 2 hours. And then on the other hand, we might have a skateboarder that, again, it doesn't even understand the language, the technical language. So we need to really find some low-hanging fruit for them. Let's do some basic stuff. Let's start somewhere. And then on the other side of things, you might have a Lindsey Vonn, who had 15 people in her staff, and she needed all the data possible, and she was okay managing it and digest everything. Or one of my good friends, a mountain biker, Kearney, Kate Kearney, so she loved data, she loved numbers. So we have such a broad spectrum of things, where we go from showing a lunge to somebody that never done a lunge, to analyze, do movement analysis an hour later with somebody at the top of the alpine skiing. And so the best way to describe it is that I used to describe us as a very fluid group of people, and everybody was smart enough and humble enough to be very adaptable, but we were very fluid. We were adaptable. You put us in a container square, we become square. We put in a cylinder, we become cylinder. So we had this very, very unique skill of like giving the athlete what they needed.
Now, you've also, in that creative side, where you've, as you just said, if you needed to be in a cube, you were a cube, and if you needed to be a sphere, you're a sphere. Anti-gravity treadmill. Did you guys develop that, or is that something that you brought into the training?
We, being a Redbull, as soon as we developed the program started developing, we had tons of devices that nobody had, like 6 years in advance, like the Alter G treadmill. We had the cryo chamber before, like 10, I'm talking about 15 years ago. And it was like this massive raw, very, very, very raw, like machines, prototype kind of. So we had the cryo sauna, we had the float chamber. So we were lucky because we had all these companies coming to us and be like, "Hey, I had this idea, I developed this thing. Can I give you one?" And we were like, my former boss, Per Lansam, which, kind of taught us how to be open-minded. We had a rule, say, if it doesn't hurt and if it makes sense on paper, let's give it a try. As we know, research takes 5-6 years to be published, right? So if you wait for that, you're already kind of behind. So you have to try new things. And Redbull was cool enough to basically give us money and say, you guys do what you think is best. So, and my director was also there. So we felt really free to experiment, to try, there was a lot of trust.
When you're talking to the folks you went to school to, do you lead with the fact that you're a mad scientist just experimenting on humans now? I mean,
well, there was safety. Let's just say that these are the things that were like usually tested already. So, and again, if it makes sense on paper, we were like, let's see. It's a new tool that we can use. Most of the times, these companies were asking us, "Oh, how can we use this? How can we apply this to athletes?" Right? So we were in this very privileged position of like, find these things and have the trust of the company before these things hit the market.
You may have the most interesting job on the planet. I mean, holy cow, you're doing like industrial research, but you're also doing sports and you're doing, high profile stuff. How do you keep your head inside your hat?
I don't. It's very destabilizing. I used to tell, including a lot of people, including my wife for 5 or 6 years, used to ask me, what do you exactly do? What do you guys do there? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean,
whatever comes up.
We're having a lot of fun. We're figuring things out. We're helping athletes, I guess, in different shapes and forms. It was very hard to describe the environment and what we were exactly doing because it was changing every day.
Hey listeners, ever find yourself on the sidelines needing that one crucial item? Look no further than Nexus Sports Medicine. Nexus is your go-to partner for creating comprehensive medical kits and accessories tailored for athletic trainers in any setting. From high school fields to professional arenas, Nexus has you covered. These kits are designed by an athletic trainer with meticulous organization, ensuring that you're always prepared, no matter the situation. Stay ahead of the game with Nexus Sports Medicine and keep your athletes safe and thriving. Check out Nexus Sports Medicine at nexus-sportsmed.com. That's Nexus, NEXUS-sports, SPORTSMED.com to find out more and get your perfect gear today.
Check out clinicallypressed.org/courses for access to free CEUs for athletic trainers. Register and enroll in as many CEUs as you'd like. New CEUs coming on a monthly basis, including from your host of To The Bone with Shelby Daly. Get ahead of your CEUs by listening to podcasts and getting credit for it. Clinically Pressed Company, making complicated simple through results that give back. Find out more at clinicallypressed.org.
Introducing HUETAPE, the skin tone kinesiology tape designed to help you heal while blending seamlessly with your skin. Whether you're recovering from an injury or needing some extra reinforcement, HUETAPE offers support where you need it most without compromising your comfort or style. Our tape is available in 3 versatile skin tones, ensuring a seamless match for all skin types. No more awkward mismatched colors or feeling self-conscious during your recovery. HUETAPE isn't just about looks. It's designed for high performance. With its strong yet flexible adhesive, you get the support you need without sacrificing mobility. Whether you're dancing or working out, you'll enjoy a full range of motion and all-day comfort. But that's not all. HUETAPE can be worn for up to 4 days. Going for a shower or swim, HUETAPE has got you covered. Find us at www.huetape.com and at HUETAPE_ on all social media platforms.
So now, and you've taken it a step further. So there's the athletes, obviously, that you're working with for the events and the spectacular stuff. But you've taken this information that you've derived from your research and working with in these extreme environments, and you've actually set up some programs to help spread the information that you've harvested from this. Tell us a little bit about that piece.
So it was the very beginning of these things, right? For example, for skateboarding, before a couple of years, when they announced that skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics, there was a big push from all the companies and sponsors to get the athletes better, get the skateboarders better. So we realized there was no research on like zero, and there was nothing that was comparable for us to use to set a baseline. So it was not easy, but we started collecting data on skateboarding with like force plates and applying some of the traditional testing, VO2 max, etc. We started collecting a little bit of data, and now Redbull is doing a lot better on that because it takes time. So it's been already probably like 10 years collecting data. So we kind of started the process very rudimentarily, and now with better technology and everything, they're bringing it, to a step forward. But it was very complicated developing programs.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to develop programs that were helping, that was easy for the athletes to develop, right? To digest and apply, right? So we were really excited about giving 20, 30 pages of testing results to the athletes. We realized like they were doing in Austria, in our sister facility over there with the headquarters, is I heard multiple athletes saying, I didn't even read that. So we realized pretty quickly that also the population of athletes we were dealing with in the US was a lot more action sport, a lot more like free spirit, so not as much structure. So we had to make it simpler. We couldn't just test everything like we wanted to and just give all these numbers to athletes. They weren't even they were like
right.
gonna take it, throw it in the recycle bin.
Right.
So over time, we started developing to be honest with you, very basic programs that were applicable, that were like simple to digest, and just to get things going and to get, to improve things from where they were staying, because a lot of these athletes were very, very basic needs. To be honest with you, so it was not always super complicated. The complicated part was to understand how we could help them.
But you also took it the other way too. So you took this, you had a massive data, and then you compressed it down and made it simple for the athletes who didn't relate to data. But then you also took it the other way, in that you took not just muscular, skeletal. You went to, okay, how do we help them? For lack of a better term, how do you get them to condition their brain for better athletics? Tell us a little bit about that evolution, where you're actually working with the mind of the athlete as opposed to just the physical body.
Yeah, we had this very cool diagram that was like a staple of a program with a cogwheel in the middle, which was the athlete, and a few smaller cogwheels around it. And each wheel was representing one area that we could affect, whether had a positive effect on the athlete. So there was physical training, mental training, creativity. One actually had a question mark on it because that was the unknown. Rehab. So we were trying to kind of hit all of them. And then again, we had a very tight group of people. And basically, an athlete would show up and say, I'm struggling with this. Can you guys help me? We would sit down and we would just tackle each of these wheels and say, okay, I can take care of this part. You can take care of that part. And we would come up with a little project. At the beginning, it was very project-based, where an athlete would show up and say, I need help with this. And we will have a meeting or multiple meetings, and we will create a small project, like 3-4 day long, 5 day long, and just do something very specific to address that problem. So it was very, very fun and very unique way of where you didn't have those individual silos, we were again, very fluid and we're trying to give the athlete what they asked us. Now, instead of us telling them what to do, they were kind of giving us their need, and then our job was to fulfill it.
So you spent obviously a lot of time with Red Bull, and what an exciting place to be. But then you took another kind of risky step, and you said, "Hey, I'm going to have a private practice." You got this massive corporation that's funding these fun projects and giving you all kinds of data and tools. What was the transition? Said, "Hey, you know what? I need to have my own. I need to have a business on my own." How did that happen?
The short answer is I'm getting old.
Amen, brother.
I think I've lived in 2 different continents. I've worked on so many athletes. I traveled. The past 2 years, I working a little less with Red Bull at their facility, and I shift to motorcycle racing. So I was with the MotoGP KTM team.
Nice.
All over the world, which is very exciting. Again, I love motorcycles, so for me, it was a dream come true. I grew up watching it, so just being there was a dream come true. I got to a point where now I'm like, okay, I've seen enough, I've done enough. I need to kind of settle, I guess, for lack of a better term. And then my goal was like, how do I just want to, I want to create something that kind of creates a legacy for the future. And so my goal is to, I'm actually opening it next month, this clinic, which is not really a clinic. I'm trying to recreate a small center similar to what we had at Redbull, where my goal is to bring some of the knowledge. It would be very easy for me to open a high performance center and just keep doing the same things.
Right.
I'm trying to see what I can do for the community where I live. My son plays baseball, so I got involved with baseball. I'm trying to give the community what's needed, and part of it involves me using some of my experience with high-level athletes and bring some of it to normal people like us, middle-aged, trying to stay in shape, and make it simple, make it affordable. So I think it's a combination of me deciding that I had enough fun, and now the priority is spending a little more time with my kids, maybe create an environment where my kids can train with me, just create something for the future that allows me not to be away from family as much.
I imagine your wife is loving having you a little bit closer to home.
My wife loves it. She's also busy because she's a physician, so it's definitely good. Then. Yeah, and she gets it, but it got harder and harder to justify being away because it's fun.
Amen, brother. Okay, right? So I'm going to back up for just a second here. Yeah. Love motorcycles. What do you ride?
I only have 2 motorcycles right now. I'm working on it. I also, at the same time, try to not get a divorce. So I have a dirt bike. I got back into dirt biking because all these athletes I work with, so they kind of re-sparked my passion. And I live in an area where South San Diego, where there's a lot of trails available. So it's also therapy for me, where I go away from people and just ride and connect with the environment. So I ride my dirt bike, not enough, but I try to do my best. And then I also have a motorcycle that I use to commute because I'm Italian, so I had to.
But of course.
Correct. I didn't want to say that I have a Vespa, but but I do.
Oh man!
So yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So those are the 2 main ones right now. Yep.
Well, and you got the environment for a Vespa. I mean, you can get away with that in Southern California. It's kind of an Italian type of environment.
However, when you're on the freeway going 70 miles an hour with your Vespa, that's only me. I can guarantee you. If you see one Vespa on the freeway, that's going to be me.
I had a little 125 Yamaha, and I tried to take it between Anchorage and Palmer, which isn't a big ride, but man, at highway speed and the wind gusts and stuff, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to pull over and just sit here for a while. Holy cow.
Let's just say that you are engaged. You're not relaxed.
Isn't that the next sport is extreme Vespaing?
That's a good one. I
like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I was watching one of the auction sites, and they had a Vespa with a sidecar, and I was like, honey, I got the answer. Come on.
My wife came on the Vespa with me twice, and I think that was it.
You cured her, huh?
Also, she hates motorcycles because, all these when I see athletes, they come in, usually the crutches, wheelchair,
Oh yeah.
broken bones. So she knows just the bad side of the two-wheel sports.
Yeah.
So I don't blame her. She doesn't want anything to do with
Well,
it.
I get it. Well, and that's you got the dirt bike for doing the fun stuff. So, and San Diego is such a beautiful area. So
I keep telling her, I'm not jumping. I'm staying on the ground. Not going too fast. I know. I've seen enough injuries where I know my limits, and so yeah.
So that's as you evolve and going into private practice and kind of coming to terms with that whole mortality thing. Your body is not going to be able to keep doing this forever and ever. Do you work with athletes who are getting to that same place where it's like, okay, I've done the really cool, exciting stuff. People have seen me do phenomenal stuff, but now I kind of got 30 years ahead of me and a limp. How do we work with this? Is that something you're working with?
I'm still seeing athletes. I still connect with Redbull. I don't do as many events, but there's a group of, again, freestyle motocrossers, in Temecula, so I see them occasionally. I mean, on a pretty regular basis. Some of them come down to see me down in San Diego, so there's a very good population of mountain bikers in San Diego. So I work with a few of them, some surfers. So I'm still involved with athletes. I just didn't like the idea of limiting myself to athletes. So I can still see them. We still do high quality work. And then my clinic also will have a recovery area. So I definitely want to create an environment where athletes feel welcomed and feel we can do good work. But I don't want to keep it exclusive to athletes. I think there's a very, very big population of middle age and even elderly men. I have a couple of patients that are in their 80s and still mountain biking and everything. So over the years, I've seen athletes in their 20s not being able to do a squat. And I've seen people in their 70s doing trapeze. So I was like, why should I treat these guys differently, right?
Okay.
So I try to, use my knowledge and treat everybody fairly, the same way and push it as hard with older people. If they're okay with it, they opted for the challenge. We do very similar work that what I do with the athletes. So there's really no limits. We're getting older, but the technology is better. We're getting, 70-year-old now is not compared to 70-year-old 10, 15 years ago. So why treat them differently if their body is capable? I do the same things.
Outstanding. So now one of the conversations that's happening, and you're in an interesting position to be able to discuss this, going back to the beginning of the conversation, your training started out in Italy where you came from. So you got your degrees in Italy. Then you had some training in the United States for your doctoral program. And in the US, under that whole umbrella of training and experience on the corporate side and in private practice, we have the US healthcare system. How do you, having worked in multiple countries, multiple continents, multiple sports, multiple disciplines, tell us about your views on what's going right with the U.S. healthcare system and what you see as, is it good? Is it bad? Tell us what you think.
I mean, I start saying that there's a lot of parts of it that I don't know about. So I'm not in a position of giving you, a full spectrum, a big answer, but for what I've seen, and my wife again is a physician, so we are kind of involved with both part of it. There's a lot of things that should be fixed, and it's not perfect. It's not better. It's hard to say if it's better there or better here. I think if I had to pick one, I would pick it over there, just because it's simpler. It's more accessible. It's just simpler from like a user perspective.
Right.
There's a lot of positive and negatives about over there. There's a positive and negatives about here. On a physician level, doctors are more specialized here. I think everybody's more specialized here, which can be good if as a patient, that's exactly what you need, right? You have an orthopedic surgeon that does 1,000 knees a month compared to Italy. They don't do as many. So in terms of practice, repetition is better here. I think over there, there's a more holistic view of medicine. So doctors are more trained all around. So if you're trying to figure out something, there's a chance that a general family practitioner is more skilled there than here. just because there's not as much emphasis here.
Right.
A lot of things we could talk about the health system for a month. The few things that I'm trying to fix in my little world, patient education.
Okay.
There's a lack of patient education. I think patients are kept in the dark about a lot of issues about what pain is. I do a lot of workshops at local gyms and with athletes as well about pain. What is pain? How do we address it? You know, I'm a firm believer that the more we know, the better. So I spend a lot of time educating patients. I think that's one. Availability, you know, being able to address an issue, you know, right away. A lot of people ask me, like, why these athletes get better so quickly? And I'm like, you know what? We get a lot of work done very early, you know. That's one issue. There is a patient, if you're trying to get physical therapy, you have to go through there's a lot of steps, and unfortunately that delays when you actually start getting care, right? So I do my best to also educate patients and have a connection with doctors where they send me people right away. So being more available right away makes a big difference in terms of the recovery time. Patient education is a big deal. I think those are the two main ones. You know, unfortunately, insurance complicates a lot of things.
Right.
So I'm not getting into that. I like to keep things simple, as I said multiple times. So having multiple entities between me and the patient definitely complicate things, which I think is detrimental. So I do my best to simplify things, to educate patients, tell them what can be done. There's a lot can be done preventively, and right away after they get hurt. So I think that's the best in my world that I can do to improve outcomes and make sure the patients might, you know, get better outcomes, and sometimes they save money too. And definitely saves time and resources from the system.
Outstanding. Well, cool. And you're actively doing that right there, like you said, in your community. Yeah,
I'm seeing patients in San Diego already. I have an office at home, and I'm now opening this clinic where we're going to do a little bit of training, a little bit of classes. I wanna teach people that movement is therapy, and a lot of normal people they have this very, very old school perception of physical therapy that you need 10 sessions because the doctor told you so, and because you got hurt and because it hurts. And it's just a very old and very wrong way of looking at things. So I'm trying to build awareness of what can be done preventively, you know. So I'm going to have classes like movement classes so that people can come to me and just learn how to move better. And then if they go to the gym to get stronger, that's fine. But we need to make sure the movement is good and quality of movement is good. And a lot of times that's the cause of people getting injured, because they start getting stronger. They try to get stronger, building on a pattern that is not very functional. So that's something I'm going to do in my clinic. And I'm hoping to create not just a moment where people come and do a session, but more like a legacy where people understand the concept, understand the value of it, and kind of take their health, you know, become accountable.
Outstanding. I've heard Italian men have the moves. So if you're going to be teaching movement, I mean, you're the guy I'm going to go to.
It's going to be on the floor.
Oh! Outstanding.
Different kind of moves. Yeah.
Outstanding. So we're coming to the end of the show, the podcast today. Any parting thoughts that you want to pass on, Doctor?
Thanks for having me. I mean, just again, be open-minded. I talk to a lot of younger practitioners. They always tell me, what am I supposed to do to get what you got and to get a job with this and that? And I'm like, get a lot of experience, keep your mind open. Don't be scared of questioning everything. I met a lot of people that were just so stubborn, and because they felt safe. Don't feel bad about question. Don't feel bad about making mistakes. Luckily we're not surgeons. So we can make mistakes. There's nothing better than make a mistake to learn, right? So I made a lot of mistakes. I have a lot of doubts when I moved here. A lot of valuable lessons, you know, but keep your mind open, apply everything, you know. If you see geriatric patients, you can apply. There's always something you can apply to younger population and vice versa. Don't label patients because of the age. Don't label people because of their status, you know. just be adaptable. I think it's a survival instinct that I had to develop, but I think is a very, very good quality that I was able to develop again.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Well, Marco, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. Anything you got coming up, events or anything that you want to let people know about?
Well, I'm opening my clinic, so my focus here on that is called Beyond Sports, because it's going to be in South San Diego, Chula Vista.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do a little bit of baseball. We're going to do a little bit of physical therapy, a little training, some fun stuff. So that's my focus for the next 2-3 months, while I try to stay afloat with all the athletes calling me last minute and keep them all in one piece. Try not to travel too much for the next few months. So just focus on that project and make sure that we create an environment that is healthy, that is fun, that is positive, where kids can come and have fun and train. And physical therapy is not seen as this, depressing thing that you have to do, but it's something that, that you can still enjoy and you can get better and have fun while doing that.
Outstanding. And give us the name of the clinic again.
So the clinic is going to be Beyond Sports.
Beyond Sports.
Yep. It's going to be located in Chula Vista, San Diego. A very active community, so I'm hoping to bring as many people as possible in. Yeah, young athletes, normal people like us.
Outstanding.
And just kind of make everybody better.
Now I have an excuse to go back to San Diego. Check you out.
Anytime.
Outstanding. Shelby, what do you got coming up on the schedule on To the Bone?
Right now, I'm just pulling together active legislation that's going on. Right now in Indiana, they are working on some legislation on getting living expenses covered for athletic trainers to be able to employ them in the rural high schools and stuff. So
outstanding, exciting. Well, good. Yeah, that's pushing the care envelope farther out from the large cities and stuff. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Outstanding. All right. And then upcoming guests, anybody you want to brag about coming on? I mean, it's going to be hard to beat Marco, but
I know.
We got to do something next time.
Chad Starkey, he's very well known in athletic training. We're going to talk about his salary survey research that he's doing. So very exciting stuff that we're just waiting for the last update, and we'll get an update from him on what's all going on.
All right. And if people want to find out more about To the Bone, see some back episodes, or check us out in the future, where would they go?
We have the full library on www.tothebonepodcast.com.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And Marco, what a pleasure. Just an amazing, what an amazing human being. I mean, holy cow.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet, sir. And we'll catch you next time right here on To the Bone, the podcast about all things athletic training. Thanks so much for listening.
That's it for today's episode of To the Bone. I hope we've sparked some new thoughts, challenged your perspectives, or simply reminded you to dig a little deeper. Remember, life isn't just about what's on the surface. Sometimes you've got to cut deeper and get to the bone of what really matters. To the Bone podcast is a product of Daily LLC. It's hosted and produced by Shelby Daly, ATC, and Randy Daly. No clinical decision-making should be based solely on one source. While care is taken to ensure accuracy, factual errors can be present. For more on the show, visit www.tothebonepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Get involved in the conversation. You can find us at www.tothebonepodcast.com. Drop us topic suggestions or be a potential guest. We're all about connecting with you, our listeners. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep cutting deep.